I did not know this was possible.
Neither did I.
Are you afraid? Yes.
Are you?
Yes. But hey, not only afraid.
The crash happened on day 1. Mara remembered very little of the actual impact. A sequence of alarms, a pressure change that felt like the ship folding around her, and then the hard orange ground coming up too fast through the viewport. She woke up with dust in her mouth and a gash above her left ear and the particular silence of a place that had never heard a human voice before. The ship was destroyed. Not damaged, destroyed. The kind of wreckage that doesn't get fixed, only catalogued. She pulled herself out through the split hull and stood on the surface of whatever this planet was and looked around at the jagged mountains and the amber sky and the dry, cracked ground that stretched in every direction. And she did not cry, because crying required energy she didn't have yet. That was when she saw the other ship. It had come down hard too. Different trajectory, different wreckage pattern, but the same general outcome. Ruined. Not going anywhere. And emerging from the torn side of it, limping slightly, was something that was not human. He stopped when he saw her. She stopped when she saw him. They stood 20 meters apart in the alien dust and looked at each other for a long moment. Then he said something she didn't understand. She said something he didn't understand. And they both stood there with a particular mutual helplessness of two people who have just realized that the only other living thing on this planet is each other. His name, or the closest she could get to it in the first weeks, was Kael. She gave him that name because the sound his people used had consonants her mouth couldn't form, and he accepted it with the patient tolerance of someone who understood that communication was more important than precision. He was a fast learner. By the end of the second week he had 30 words. By the end of the first month he had enough to hold a conversation, if they kept it simple. What they kept it to was survival. Water first. He knew how to find it. Reading the rock formations and the mineral deposits in ways she couldn't follow but stopped questioning after the third time he was right. Food second. The planet had life, small and sparse and nothing she'd have identified as edible. But he knew which things wouldn't kill her and which things would, and the distinction mattered more than the taste. Shelter third. They built it together from the wreckage of both ships. Neither structure salvageable alone, but between them enough material to make something that kept the wind out. They did not talk much beyond what was necessary in the beginning. But time on a desert planet with one other person is a long and specific kind of time. It does things to distance. She noticed the change in him before she understood it. He had always been careful with her, precise and considered in the way he moved around her space, as if he was constantly aware of exactly how much room she needed. But somewhere in the third month she started to notice that the care had a different quality. Not the consideration of two survivors managing proximity. Something else. Something she recognized from a different context entirely. She didn't say anything about it, because she was also noticing something in herself that she didn't have language for yet. The night it rained. The first rain either of them had seen since the crash, a strange amber-tinged rain that smelled of minerals and left the ground looking briefly like copper. They stood at the shelter entrance and watched it fall, and he said, in the halting, careful standard he'd built word by word over months, "On my world there is a ceremony. For rain. Because rain means the planet is alive." "What do you do in the ceremony?" she asked. He thought about how to say it. "You tell the rain what you are grateful for," he said. "So it knows it was not wasted." She looked out at the copper-colored falling water. "What are you grateful for?" He was quiet for long enough that she turned to look at him. "That my ship went down here," he said. "And not somewhere else." She didn't tell him for 3 weeks after she knew. She told herself it was because she was still processing it herself, which was true. She told herself it was because she didn't have the vocabulary yet for what it would mean, which was also true. The biology was something neither of them fully understood. She'd done the math on what her ship's medical scanner could still tell her, and the answer was unambiguous, and the implications were enormous. she was expecting. She told him on a morning when the mountains were catching the first amber light and the air was the closest to cool it ever got on this planet. Sitting on the flat rock they'd started using as a morning place because the light was good there and the wind came from the south and the view of the peaks made the planet feel less hostile than it usually did. She said it plainly because she'd learned that Kael did better with plane than with circling. He was silent for a long time. Then he stood and crouched down in front of her and placed both hands, careful, the way he was always careful with her, against her abdomen. And the expression on his face was something she had never seen from him before and had no name for in any language she knew. But it moved through him completely and left him different on the other side. "I did not know this was possible," he said quietly. "Neither did I," she said. He looked up at her. "Are you afraid?" She thought about it honestly. "Yes," she said. "Are you?" "Yes," he said. "But..." He searched for the word. "Not only afraid." "Not only afraid," she agreed. He kept his hands where they were, and she let him, and the amber morning light moved across the mountains in slow gold sheets, and the planet, harsh and strange and entirely indifferent to the two of them, held them anyway, the way planets hold everything that lands on them, without warmth but without letting go. They named her the same way they'd built the shelter, with pieces from both of them. A sound from his language, a sound from hers, fitted together until the combination was something new that belonged to neither world entirely and both worlds completely. She arrived 3 months after the morning on the flat rock, in the shelter they'd built from wreckage, in the amber half-dark of an alien night. She was small and had her mother's eyes and her father's remarkable patience, and she looked at the planet she'd been born on with an expression that said she had already decided it was hers.